Welcome to the Little Things You Hear Together, where we dive deep into Broadway cast albums to figure out why some hit harder than others. I'm Alex Asp, and my guest today is not a Meaney, but Mike Meaney. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here with me. You are somebody that I've heard on other podcasts and enjoyed your takes very much, so I'm excited to have you bring it to this one.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to nerd out here over this.
Yes. So we are discussing an interesting album today. What are we talking about?
Holiday Inn, an Irving Berlin musical.
A new Irving
Oh,
Berlin
excuse
musical,
me, a new one.
allegedly. Even though it's from, at that point, 50 years? No, I can't do math. Like 70 years earlier.
Yeah, a little bit there.
So, new is a little bit relative, but it is at least a new version of it because they kind of spliced together the 1942 film with other things, and it ends up being just a jukebox musical of Irving Berlin at the end of the day.
More or less. I was talking to somebody about it, and I was like, the foundation's the same, but it's an entirely different house. That's how I described it.
There we go. Yes. And a lot of that is for the better. It's ironic that this is going to come out on President's Day, but the song for President's Day that was in the movie was cut for the stage show, luckily, because that was the Abraham where Bing Crosby is in blackface. So we don't need that on the stage at all.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they decided to get rid of that one and not even do the George Washington song and just decide to skip President's Day altogether.
Skip right over it. We don't need it. So, before we kind of get into the meat of things, as I said, music and lyrics are Irving Berlin. The book is Gordon Greenberg and Chad Hodge. The director on Broadway is Gordon Greenberg, and music director is Andy Einhorn, with orchestrations by Larry Blank. This is another Ghostlight Records album, and it was produced for Ghostlight by Kurt Deutsch and engineered by Ian Cagey and Todd Whitelock. So, what is your relationship to Holiday Inn, the show, and the album?
So the show I saw as I think they did a great performances PBS classic, and that was what was it? Excuse me. The great performances that's on PBS there. They recorded that, so that was how I saw it. And of course, like I saw the movie, but it has to have been like 10 years ago, if not the last time I saw the movie. And it's Irving Berlin. So even if you don't know anything about Holiday Inn, you probably already know half the songs that are in it just because he's just such a presence in all music. So I do like the music quite a bit. And the show itself, I'm a little bit more mixed on.
Yeah, we'll get into this as we go through the tracks, but this album clearly has a very distinct point of view that it's an album of Irving Berlin classics sung beautifully. They're not trying to give us a story. They're not trying to do anything else but give us beautiful sounding songs.
Which, to be fair, like it's the movie too. Like, it's just kind of how it is, where we're just trying to get to the next song as quickly as possible. And, sometimes just kind of having cotton candy like that is perfect. You don't need Death of a Salesman every time. But, I think there were some opportunities to make it a little bit more complex, that they just decided, why don't we have fun? Which, as long as I am in that mindset, I'm just like, it's here for fun. I don't need to, break down the intricacies of it. Then I'll be good to go.
Yeah, have some fun, get some reliable sales at the end of the year for Roundabout.
Yeah.
Just do what you gotta do.
And it's honestly, I think it was kind of perfect that they went to Roundabout because it didn't need an open-ended run. It didn't need a big commercial thing to be at Roundabout as a nonprofit show, just as a fun way to end the year. I think it knew what it was. It wasn't, trying to be this big, following in Hamilton's shadow or something like that.
Right. I mean, over the course of the last 100 years, there are not that many holiday musicals because it's such a weird pitch to people. Hey, come see this holiday show in June. No, you're going to have a limited run around the holiday season. And so put up all that money to get it going and not have any chance of making it back is definitely not something a lot of theater companies are going to want to do.
And what's interesting with this show is, it's about all the holidays, but it's Christmas. It's still a Christmas show.
It's still very much anchored around that. Absolutely.
And it's just, and it's not its fault, but, it's the shadow of White Christmas looms large over this entire thing, even though the Holiday Inn movie came out way before the White Christmas movie. And this is where White Christmas originally came from. It's just kind of always looming over it as it's, lesser twin, I guess.
Well, it's kind of like the grandpa. Like, we wouldn't have White Christmas the movie without Holiday Inn the movie.
Yeah.
But then that one song just took on a life of its own, so much bigger than the rest of the picture.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows White Christmas.
Both there.
Yeah.
And now the stage shows for both are a lot of the same songs, and that's okay. It's fine. It's fun.
Though I will say, Irving Berlin wrote upwards of 1,500 songs, I think, when all is said and done
Oof.
over his career. White Christmas beat them to the punch in terms of a stage adaptation. There are so many times where I'm like, I think we could have found a song that wasn't in the White Christmas stage version, that we could have found another song that would do something similar.
Right.
Or just find a deep cut, which they to be fair, there are a couple deep cuts in here that are not as well known, that I think do a really good job when they're trying to have more of a story moment rather than a diegetic moment.
Yeah. Although still most of the music is very diegetic,
Yes.
which is typical of this style. This in many ways, even though it was constructed in the mid 2010s, it is still following the blueprint of the movie musicals and early stage musicals of the 30s and 40s. So we're still in that mindset for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was the smart move to do, even if it doesn't create,
Yeah.
the most sturdy story you've ever seen. Like I think it would have been far worse if we tried to like structure it as the a Rodgers and Hammerstein style musical. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
they knew what they had and they weren't trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. It's interesting. I wish there almost feels like there should be a term for shows like this where it's kind of a hybrid between a review and a jukebox musical because it is bringing in all theater songs, but with an actual story.
Yeah, and
So neither of those terms really fit it completely, but I'm not sure. I'm not aware of any term in between that would really describe things like this in White Christmas.
no, me neither. But what's interesting is, like Irving Berlin was a big review person. Like that was kind of his bread and butter with how he wrote his songs and things. Like a lot of, like, they were called the music box reviews. And then he kind of reinvented the wheel a little bit with a review called As Thousands Cheer, where a lot of these songs came from, to
Mhm.
where it was a review, but it was the newspaper, like it was a themed review. So we had like current events, we had the comics, we had all of these different things, and the weather report, which is, and things like that. And that's was kind of what he did. And then he was wrote Easter Parade for As Thousands Cheer, and was like, do you know what would be a great review? Holidays. And so like he was kicking this around for a long time. And then they're like, well, let's not, how about a movie instead? And then that turned into what we now have in 2016.
Yeah, and it's a fun idea for a movie, for a show. This guy is sick of the rat race of show business and wants to just run an inn, but then he's like, "Oh, I'm a little bit bored," so he just has people as guests for holidays, and I love the idea of only working a handful of days a year. That's absolutely fantastic.
Terrible business model, though. And I kind of,
Like, you just need a little bit of money, not much.
well, the logic was, the performers have the holidays off, so that's the only way you're going to get them is on these holidays. So we're going to just be focused on that. And I kind of wish the musical did a little bit more to be like, can we find a way to justify this as a money making entity that's only open, 20 days a year?
And it's crazy because so many of them are in the winter with the holiday season from, I guess, Halloween through Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
and I guess St. Patrick's Day having a lot of them. And then really after Easter, you're not getting very much until the summer.
Yeah. 4th of July and then Labor Day,
And
and then it
I
starts all
love that.
back up again.
Yep. And we can just throw in Arbor Day and Earth Day,
I
any holiday you can think of.
And I'm sure Irving Berlin wrote a song about Columbus at some time or another. Like
Oof.
I'm sure at one of those 1,500 is has a Columbus reference.
Well, I'm glad we don't have that in this musical.
Yeah.
So these are all classic songs done beautifully. The orchestrations for this album are ridiculous.
I
It is so infectious.
I love it. And that's been my thing with this, is like these songs getting ready for this have been stuck in my head nonstop. And it's not just the singing, it's these orchestrations. I think Larry Blank did such a great job with these orchestrations. And I think the pit, they all sound so good. And for me, what I appreciate with this is, Irving Berlin's music was the early days of recording. So there hasn't been a lot of updated versions of some of these songs. So to hear them sound this good with new recording equipment that is leaps and bounds better than a lot of the stuff that they had, just kind of just makes it sound so much better than it ever has before.
Yeah, if people have even heard it before, because a lot of
Exactly.
these, anything from As Thousands Cheer is gonna be pre-cast album, and, they get covered on the radio and stuff like that, but as a piece of theater together, I don't know that a lot of these several of these songs probably have never been recorded in this style before.
Yeah, and what was really great is the castalbums.org has all of the songs highlighted. So you can see all of the different albums that some of these songs have appeared in, but a handful of them, like you said, were never actually recorded as a cast album.
Yeah, because that just wasn't the time. You wrote these songs to be in a review so that they could get on the radio, and that's the model for a very long time.
Yep, that and sheet music. And
Oh, yeah, and I think it's weird for us today to realize just how big a business that was. Because today it seems like, "Oh, how much could you really have made selling sheet music?" But that was a huge thing back then.
yeah, massive. And, Irving Berlin working in Tin Pan Alley and just plugging away as much as he could because, the more songs he got out, the more he could make. And then it just was how it was done back then. It's crazy to think about the output of people like him and George Gershwin and Jerome Kern, these people who were pretty much music writing machines because they had to be.
Yeah, and not everybody would have had a record player to buy albums, but they're gonna be able to just purchase sheet music here and there for what they really love. So it was smart of them,
And far more common for houses to have a piano and, somebody in the family at least could, plunk their way through a song or two.
right? Oh, the days when every house had a piano.
Yeah.
I wish I had a piano, that'd be nice, even though I can't play.
I'm grateful that I don't because I don't know where I'd put it in my
Well,
apartment.
that's there's always that too, yeah. So as we go through, I was listening to this when I was in New York recently, just kind of walking down the street, and I am so in it when I'm listening to this music, and then as soon as it's off, I am just it's gone for me because these songs are all so generic, and the melodies will come back into my head at the worst, most inopportune times. But as far as like remembering the emotion, there really isn't much because these are all fairly generic songs because that's what the style was. And it's all so beautiful, but does not coalesce into an album that really draws me in as a whole.
That's interesting because I had the not entirely an opposite experience, but where like the song I would listen to them and then the songs would get stuck in my head, but it was never like you said like as a cohesive unit. Like I wasn't thinking about them as Holiday Inn. I was thinking of them as the catchy song that was here, the catchy song that was there. And for me, I think the simplicity is kind of the beauty of it. Where like it's hard to make something sound so simple and there's something about it where I think, especially this season that you're covering, you take something like Natasha Pierre, which is anything but simple and just the most
Yeah.
complicated thing. And in the same season, you have this, which is just easygoing things that just kind of swim in my head and then refuse to leave no matter how hard I try.
Yeah. And especially, I mean, to compare this to an Irving Berlin contemporary, last season on the podcast, we talked about Anything Goes, and Cole Porter had a very different approach to things, especially with lyrics, where you get some ridiculously amazing lyrics and then some real clunkers because he's taking big swings.
Yeah.
Whereas Irving Berlin is much more playing it safe. Not many of the lyrics stand out, good or bad. They're doing what they need to do for the song, and that's perfect.
And for me, like, I think that's great because he understands the structure so well that and there's no such thing as a false rhyme anywhere in this whole album. Everything is set up, you get a little internal rhyme. Sometimes you get a little wit in there, but most of the time it's what is this a love song? How do we talk about love? Is this a song about, the weather? Let's talk about the weather. Is this, a song about dancing? Let's focus. And it's just, he understands what the thesis is. And I think he really goes out of his way to make sure that everybody knows it's a song about firecrackers. It's a song, like,
Definitely is.
and it's, he's not trying to reinvent the wheel. And I honestly, I love complicated musical theater scores and a contemporary of his, George Gershwin and the things he was doing at the same time were far more complicated. But at the same time, there's something about the simplicity that I think is kind of beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's why Irving Berlin became Mr. Americana because his style worked perfectly for big patriotic type numbers. He'd have how many shows that were pure patriotism?
A few.
Several.
I mean, he is the ultimate America success story. This thing that is a myth to so many of us. He lived it. He was born in what is like modern day Belarus in 1888. He came to the US when he's 5 years old, and later on in interviews, he would talk about his first memory he has of his village being burned down during a pogrom, and like that is his earliest memory. He said,
Ooh.
and from there he emigrated to the United States. He lived on the Lower East Side, realized he was too much of a financial burden on his parents, so he lived out on the streets, became a singing waiter, and then became a songwriter, and then lived to be 101 years old. And he had a career that was 1907 to, oh my goodness, 1966. That entire time, he had 20 Broadway shows or something like that, and he went from that to that, which is, of course, I think he felt so much pride because he was able to make the American dream work, and it was
Yeah.
a reality in a way that I don't think many of us have ever come to realize.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we're very happy for him and happy to have all of his contributions to theater, both the songs themselves and, he was very active throughout the most influential years of developing the musical into what it would be today. He may not get as much credit as, Rodgers and Hammerstein, but he was definitely part of that pack of forging a new Broadway.
And what's interesting is the post Oklahoma musicals he wrote. I mean, Annie Get Your Gun is a very, very good musical. The other
Yeah.
ones are a little. They're not as good, but at least I think with Annie Get Your Gun, he at least showed that he could keep up with the changes. And I mean, in his last musical was in the early '60s, and he wrote a rock song for it because he knew. And I am playing fast and loose with the word rock, but
Well, yeah, it's all relative, right?
yeah.
So, as we get into the tracks, we do get a beautiful overture to start. And I love overtures. I love entr'actes. I understand why a lot of shows don't have them now, but they are so delicious and lovely.
I am not an overture person.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know I love the Candide overture, but
Well, that's just ridiculously amazing.
but more often than not, they are probably the most skipped thing when I'm listening to music. Is I want to jump right in. I want to get into the meat of things. But
Very interesting.
even when I'm at a show, I'm just like, I would like the show to start, please. Even though I love the music, I love the musicianship. Nothing beats a well done orchestra, playing an overture. But I would like
Well,
to just.
also, overtures are not supposed to be featured as much in the show. They are supposed to be before the show starts while people are still getting their seats. So it doesn't matter if you're not as tuned in.
Yes,
And that has seemingly gone by the wayside, but
very true.
I think, this is very much in the style of those golden age musicals where we're getting a solid sampling, we're mixing together songs a little bit here and there, we're kind of mixing styles, and it really is just a sampler of the melodies that you're going to hear throughout the night.
Yeah, and I think it's set up in a smart way because again, like Irving Berlin's music, whether or not you realize
Right.
and then so hearing those, you're like, oh, that's him. Oh, that's him, as a way to kind of ease people into the evening.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. I thought I wouldn't know anything, and here I'm already recognizing several tunes. Very smart. But I mean, not a whole lot else to say. It is an
I
overture.
will say, as much as I dislike overtures, it's a very well done one, and I really really like the orchestrations for this show.
Yeah, perfect orchestrations for sure. So then we have Steppin' Out with My Baby and I'll Capture Your Heart, which this is fun. We're establishing the act of the two male leads and Lila as a trio that is performing. We get a little bit of that on the album with their intro, but not a ton.
Yeah, I will say the album does a good job of kind of letting us know when we are in performing mode and when we are in, musical, I'm singing because my emotions are so high mode. And I feel like this sets it up pretty well. And I think again, Stepping Out with My Baby is a song so many people know. And I think it's smart to kind of ease that in before the song from the movie with I'll Capture Her Heart, which is it's a cute little song. It shows the, love triangle thing that goes on between Jim and Ted with either Lila or Linda.
Stepping out with my baby, can't go wrong, cause I'm in right. It's for sure, not for maybe, that I'm all dressed up tonight.
Yeah, and it's definitely it almost feels like its own style of those kind of buddy competition songs of Bing Crosby and whoever's in a specific movie with him at the time.
Yep.
And it's setting up that relationship that we're going to see them interacting with the whole show, and it is fun. And I must say, the first time I listened to this, I was like, "No way is that Corbin Bleu,"
Oh my
because
gosh.
he sounds incredible.
He was born
And
80 years too late. Like, it just
yeah,
he's fully become like a song and dance man, and he's so good in this. It's not, it's the 20th anniversary of High School Musical, but he's come so far
yeah,
from that. He's so good on this album.
yeah. I mean, most people probably still only know him as being from High School Musical, but he has done so much in the theater and in other things. But there's just an interesting quality to his voice that is very expressive, but it's not a quality you hear in baritones very often, where it's still got quite a lot of ping to it. Even with his, no, take a look at my dancing. He goes down fairly low and still has that tenor edge to it almost.
Here she comes down the street. My oh my, ain't she sweet? Why, here comes my hot toddy. Ha ha, over my dead body. I'll capture her heart singing. Just wait until she gets a load of my dancing.
Yeah, they really found some great keys for both him and then Bryce Pinkham because, I think they kind of flipped them a little bit where, because it's Bing Crosby, he's got that classic baritone that we all know. And,
Oh, yeah.
and Bryce Pinkham is definitely not singing in those keys throughout this, which
No.
they found a nice way to kind of switch it. So instead he's got that classic tenor sound where, what's his name? Ted. Sorry, I was mixing up the characters. So
Right.
how Ted is more of the baritone. And I kind
It
of
doesn't
wish,
sound natural. It sounds
yeah.
completely like you would never know that this was not how it was originally written.
Yeah, so it works really well for this, and it's good. There are a couple of times where they sound very similar, and it does throw me off a little bit because I gotta like, wait, which one is this? Which one is that? But which doesn't happen with Bing Crosby and Fred
Anybody.
Astaire. But I think that's more because Bing Crosby is such a singular kind of voice.
Yeah. Luckily, Bryce Pinkham and Corbin Bleu don't sing together a ton on this album. They're largely singing separate songs, so it's not an issue too often.
Yeah, and when they do, it's always in an act form, so it's not the
Yeah,
end of
and it
the
doesn't really
world.
matter who's singing what.
Yeah,
Bryce Pinkham sounds incredible as always.
so good
I
in
just
this.
I saw him in A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, and he's been amazing in anything he's ever been in, I think. Just saw him in Chess, which I did not love what they did with the Arbiter, but he sounded great.
Yeah, and it's I was introduced to him in Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, which is about as
Mm,
far away from this kind of singing as you can get.
yeah.
So it's just that's such great work. I really like him a lot. It's a great performer that I feel like needs a little bit more recognition.
Yeah, well, hopefully he'll start to get more, and I think, Chess, for better or worse, is a big thing right now that hopefully he can use to his advantage to get more substantial parts.
Yeah, because that is making money hand over fist right now.
Oh, yes. Well, they're certainly not spending it on a set.
I'll take you through life singing. Oh no, you haven't a chance when I go into my dance.
After this, we go into The Little Things in Life, which is a little, quick song. It's cute. It's Ted wants to be out on a farm. Love that for him.
Yep, exactly. It does. It sets up what little plot there is.
Yep.
It's the inciting. It's kicking things off as clearly as they can while it's still using the Irving Berlin catalog. And this is one of those random songs that I don't think have ever been recorded ever. It's from. I'm not even too sure what it's from. I assume it's from a review. But
Yeah.
Just a little room or two can more than do a little man and wife. That's if they're contented with the little things in life.
It's serving its purpose very well. It's establishing where he's going, and it feels very natural in Bryce Pinkham in his style of delivery.
yes,
Just be that kind of Bryce Pinkham always sounds sophisticated. So
yes,
instead of him talking about wanting the simple life, we're getting that kind of, really? Are you want the simple life?
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the thing of eventually he can't stay away from it entirely, but it's smart to have that juxtaposition of the character in the situation and have that come through.
for sure. And it's just does a nice job of setting stuff up and without, overcomplicating anything.
Yeah, certainly does not get that complicated in this show.
No.
A little rain, a little sun, a little work, a little fun, a little time for loving when the day is done.
So after that, now we go to Blue Skies, which is one of the more well-known songs probably in this show.
Yeah, and
It's been in a lot of things, including White Christmas. So
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see.
I would argue that they should have found another song to put in this spot. I love this song, don't get me wrong. Like, it's too well known, and it's been used in White Christmas. And just kind of your brain goes to everything but Holiday Inn when you hear this song. And
yeah,
that being said, I do love the bridge that they put into it, where I can't find any other version of the song that has that in there. I've only heard it with just the Blue Skies part.
I should care if the wind blows east or west. I should fret if the worst looks like the best.
yeah, that is a nice little change of style. And I really like that they have an unconventional orchestration, especially with the percussion underneath, where we're getting this beautiful song, this melody that's gorgeous, and it's usually very kind of happy, carefree type of performance, but we have this driving beat underneath to give it more of an engine and feel like, well, the lyrics are very happy and carefree, but this feels like we're going somewhere.
Yeah, and it also it works, in the context of the show, because it's the song that they used to move him from New York City to the farm there, and
Yeah, exactly.
Blue skies, skies, nothing but blue skies. Blue skies do I see.
and all of that, just like Blue Sky is still, it's still such a great song, and it's one of those things. If this was the only song Irving Berlin wrote, everyone would be, if only this was all he
Yeah.
did, it still,
Yeah,
would
and
be more than enough. It'd still be a massive contribution to, the Great American Songbook.
Absolutely. We get little bits of dialogue here and there, enough to help us know that he is moving and enlisting the help of his fellow show business friends.
Yes,
And we get the anything with show business or anything marked show business goes into the attic or
which
in the garage. So we're moving on past that.
Never saw the sun shining so bright. Never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly.
Yep, and it's just we're trying to set up a little bit of plot. You know where we are, and it sounds cheesy. There's no other way to say it. Where I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's just all right. Here we go, and I don't know. It's the things where I'm glad we're focused on the music and the album. Where if we zoomed out a little bit and talked about this as a show as a whole, I'd have a little bit more different opinion about the quality of things. But
Yeah. And we're not getting, for better or for worse, we're not getting a lot of that coming through into the album. We're not getting the problems of the show
yeah,
showing up in the album. We're just getting the music.
which is kind of deceitful because you can get sucked into this thing so quick, and then I feel like that's also a lot of musicals where you get seduced by the score and then you sit down to read the libretto and all of a sudden there is just a dumpster fire in front of you, though the show is not a
We've already mentioned chess.
yeah like this show is not a dumpster fire, but it's just it is a flimsy house of cards.
Yeah. No one had any grand ideas that this was going to be the next huge thing. This was just a feel good reason to get to the next song.
And again, nothing wrong with that,
And that's
but
fine. Yeah.
every once in a while I would like it if there was something a little bit more firmer they were standing on.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Nothing but blue skies.
After that, we have Marching Along with Time, which is, we get to hear Laura Lee Gayer sounding lovely
Yes.
as the wonderful Linda Mason coming in, who we get nothing on the album about who she is, really.
No, and
Kind of, it's a voice that appears.
and if people are like trying to use this as a way to follow along with the plot or anything, she's she used to own the farm that Jim bought, or her family owned it.
Yeah,
And she left some things there. And so she's going to pick them up because the bank changed the locks too fast. And there's an immediately a connection between her and Jim.
of course.
And this does the jukebox musical sin where like they just do whatever they can to like get the song ready, because where they just go, she like goes, like I always say, time marches on and so do I. And it's like, I'm just like, hey, we could have gotten there. We could have found another way to get there.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it seems strange to me, based on how I typically like albums to be, that there's not more dialogue leading into songs. We're really just mostly getting the songs themselves. But to your point, in a lot of cases, the dialogue that would get included to do that would not be great. So maybe it's not the worst thing that we're leaving it out.
Yeah, this was very, very smartly produced with how everything is packaged. I think they did a really clever job of putting this together and knowing when to include a little bit of dialogue so it can kind of stand on its own, and when to just kind of jump right into the song. Because, yeah, I don't think any of the songs really have any like script lead in. It's usually just jumping right into the song. And if we need a little bit more context, we sneak it in some
Yeah.
underscoring.
There might be like half a line over the opening three chords before the lyrics start, but
Yeah.
very little of that.
I'm marching along with time. I'll be marching from time to time, for I'm not gonna let the parade go by. You know that time marches on, and so do I.
This is it is a nice song to kind of be going between major and minor modes. It gives it that excitement and lets Laura Lee Gare shine on, she has pretty much most of the song to herself, doesn't she? I think there's
Yes.
very little of anybody else coming in to help her.
Yeah, Jim jumps in a little bit here. There's to do like a little bit of backup while she's talking about how there'll be what's a change in music, a change in rhythms, a change, but
Yeah.
I'll keep plugging away. And I do love the lyrics about switching from a buggy to a car to an airplane. It's just
See, I can't even remember those lyrics because none of these lyrics kept me focused and engaged in the lyrics. I was just listening to the music itself.
when listening to this, like, is it you get sucked in by the music and then you're like, oh, I guess they are singing words with this kind of album, or is it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, normally, I typically when I'm going through and prepping for an episode and kind of making my notes so I don't get so veering off track, I have a lot of lyrics that stand out to me, both positive and negative. And I have very few that I wrote down for this show because it largely just exists to do what it needs to do. And that's why I'm like, oh wait, that's a lyric. I don't even remember that part.
But I get that, and I think the choruses are like so extra catchy that is the one thing I remember. A lot of verses I have no memory of
Yeah.
either. They all kind of blend together too a little bit when just kind of
For
listening to
sure.
them over and over for this.
There'll be a change in music, a change in rhythm,
A change in dancing.
but I'll be right with them.
Yeah, and I also have to say the vocal arrangements in this show are fantastic. The ensemble sounds amazing every time they come in to back up or just to be the focus. It's always perfectly balanced and giving the exact right sound.
Yeah, it never has that thing that sometimes happens where you're like, I'm hearing one ensemble member very, very specifically here, and I don't know why. And then like I do like the dog turning my head thing because it becomes the only thing I can focus on is this one person who happens to be half a step closer to the microphone or something like that.
Yeah. And that's also very good mixing from the audio engineers to make sure that everybody's well balanced from the mic. And if there are any issues, you can tweak things to get it to sound at the other end like nothing was ever wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
We do love an album that's produced to sound lovely like this.
Yeah, and it's again they're very smart because they know how to seduce you with this.
They understood the assignment
Yeah.
perfectly.
Marching along with time, I'll be marching from time to time, for I'm not gonna let the parade go by.
You know that time marches on,
And so do I.
The next track is Heat Wave, which is fun, kind of comes out of nowhere. And if you didn't know better, you would have no idea that this is Ted back on the road with Lila.
Yeah,
And so this has nothing to do with anything going on at the end.
nope, it jumps right. I think they might. I can't remember right now. They're all like I said, they're all kind of blending together. Where there might be. Oh no, there is where they're talking about here, and you can kind of hear that they're starting in St. Louis, and then they've moved on to another Midwest town, and then they're finally in Chicago. So they're kind of like working their way up to the pump room in Chicago, and so
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and I know in like the show proper, there's dialogue that is a lot more present in this chunk of the show, but I think just the quick little voiceover saying that they're now performing here, they're now performing there.
Yeah. The bit that we don't get from this all is the trio back in New York had an offer to go on this tour. And while Jim said, no, I'm going to go have the little things in life, Ted and Lila said, oh, no, we're going to still go on the tour. So they are taking the tour that was initially meant for all three of them.
Yes, and not only that, Jim proposed to Lila right before they got the offer, and so they're engaged, and she decided to run off to do the tour.
That's a great sign.
Yes, but there's the understanding that once the tour is done, she's going to come back and she's going to live on the farm with him.
Yes, and we will get to that shortly.
Yes.
A heat wave right into town last week. She came from the island of Martinique.
But I mean, this is a song where, for me, I'm like, I guess somebody did have to write this because, it's been around my entire life. My grandparents would just sing it when it was way too hot out. And, it was in commercials. It just shows up and it feels like it's always just been a presence, and that nobody took the time to like sit down and go, I'm going to write a song, because it's just been so, always there in my life.
Yeah, exactly like you said, it's always been somebody will sing a bar of it or hear the melody in a commercial kind of thing. And I don't think I ever put together that it was an Irving Berlin song until much, much later.
Yeah.
Because there's never it's never brought up with any context or in any significant enough way that makes you wonder and go look for the context.
Exactly. It's just selling things when things are too hot is just kind of what I associate it with before.
Yeah.
And this was one of the songs from As Thousands Cheer. So.
Mm-hmm.
We're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave. The temperature's rising, it isn't surprising. She certainly can.
And I do appreciate the wordplay of she certainly can.
It's so good.
And the traditional, this is one thing where it's a little bit unusual for Irving Berlin. The typical rhythm would be expected to be, she certainly can beat, can. But he doesn't do that beat of waiting. So it's kind of like, ooh, a little bit of unexpected can there, which, considering that's the surprise moment, you can see how by the book Irving Berlin typically is.
Yeah, and he really isn't somebody like Cole Porter who's known for their wit, or Lorenz Hart, but it's every once in a while it's like he cashes it in for one good one, and then he's like, I'm good for now. I'll wait. I'll have another song eventually, in 3 days.
Yeah,
and that'll use
in
it.
a few hours.
Yeah. I mean, there's a story where they were writing Annie Get Your Gun. They had a meeting, and I wish I could remember the song, and I'm sure one of your listeners is immediately like, yep, this is the song he's thinking of. They couldn't figure it out, and so they left the meeting. He gets in the cab, goes back to his apartment, and then he calls them and goes, I figured it out. And he wrote an entire song on the cab ride over there. And it was like, well, we start on Monday. I thought I had to get it done.
To have that kind of a brain that just is so tuned into what you were meant to do that you can just do it like that when, I guess we need it, so I'll just do it.
If I had half that brain power, I would be a much different person.
Just think what life could be.
Certainly
The next track then is It's a Lovely Day Today. And this, I believe, is Lila has come back now after the tour.
Yes.
And she's not quite so on board with this agreement that they had from before that she would stay on the farm.
Yep. And that's
It's not her cup of tea.
and it's pretty much it. Yeah. I feel like it's This song is pulled from Call Me Madam. And actually, this was a hit too. This was a handful of people recorded it, but in the context of Holiday Inn, it's, yep, she's there and she's gone.
Yeah.
It's a lovely day today. So whatever you've got to do, you've got a lovely day to do it in.
That's true.
And we get that we do get dialogue to tell us that she's leaving, and she didn't even bring bags because she knew she was going to be leaving ahead of time.
Yes, there's this handy woman that is just jammed into so much of this musical, and that's like, now that she's here, we're gonna hear her in everything pretty much at
Yep.
the end of the show. And I mean, she's great. Like,
Very distinctive.
yes, but it's just this. It's like she is actually from 1947.
Right. Yes. That's exactly how she sounds.
And I do love the orchestrations on this, where we get where it does sound lovely, and then you can hear the rain clouds in it, which
Mhm.
I really, really like.
Yeah, good sound effects can go a long way. And the one lyric in this that I'm just like, really, is when he sings,
There is nothing more to say.
Except it's a lovely day for saying it's a lovely day.
like, okay, let's just keep repeating those 3 words over and over. Why not? We could do better, but let's just move on. And I guess we'll move on as well, because after that now is Plenty to Be Thankful For, which naturally I assumed was a Thanksgiving number for the Holiday Inn. But no, it is not. It is back to Ted and Lila in Vegas, I guess.
I've got plenty to be thankful for. I haven't got a great big yacht to sail from shore to shore. Still, I've got plenty to be thankful for.
And they're just singing a holiday song not associated with the inn.
Nope, it lets us know that it's Thanksgiving time. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much,
At least establishing that time is passing, but on the album, I don't think there's much to give you an inclination that this has nothing to do with the inn.
yeah,
Except that we haven't established the inn yet.
yeah. And I think the only way is when like the little commercial things pop up.
I do love the commercials.
I've got eyes to see with,
Thanks to Optrix, the eye lotion made with science.
ears to hear with.
Thanks to Benzel, the nasal spray made with amphetamines. Wow!
Yes.
It's just the way that's constructed to be so blatantly product placement-y.
Yeah.
It's very funny and very, very 40s.
Yes, it's very much of the time, and I wish I could remember in the movie Holiday Inn, where I assumed this actually had to have been a Thanksgiving number in the movie, but it's been so long since I've seen it, and it is
Yes.
interesting that they decided to make it a non-Holiday Inn place.
Yeah.
Place Holiday Inn, the place.
We have a holiday song.
Yeah,
Not going to be part of a holiday at the inn.
yeah,
Okay, sure, why not? I guess that would ruin the timeline that they're going for.
yeah. But I don't know. I guess they.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Why
and again,
do we have to wait till Christmas to have the idea for the holiday inn?
And again, if they wanted him to be listening to them on the radio and being upset that they're so successful right now, he wrote 1,500 songs. Like,
How could anybody ask for more?
Why would he?
My needs are small. I buy them all at the 5 and 10 cent store.
Yeah,
let-
you can find something else for that spot there.
and I understand if like it's structurally, they're like, well, no, we want it to be Christmas when he establishes the holiday. But it's also like a lot of the songs, I think what's the first one is not until the New Year's song is the first time that it becomes like the Holiday Inn. So, and at that point, what's that, 3 out of 6 holidays where
Yeah,
But-
and we don't really get the holiday inn opening until the end of Act 1.
no. And so I don't know if they wanted to hold off the establishing of the inn, and that's why, and they still wanted to include another song from the movie, or
Yeah, who knows what they were thinking.
yeah, I don't know. Personally, if they could have done, the George Washington song instead, if they still wanted a Holiday Inn, because like that one's fun and not
Yeah,
incredibly awful and offensive to everyone.
yeah. Well, can't get much worse than Abraham, so oof.
We've got
Plenty to be thankful
So the next track then is Nothing More to Say, which is a fairly generic song of pining and longing. And I guess, I don't know. So this is Linda, Laura Lee
Yes.
Gayer, who I guess is starting to have feelings for Jim.
Yes.
That is not returned because he is newly single, I guess, because we've already had Lila dump him after she didn't want to stay on the farm.
Yeah, like this is like their first vaguely romantic interaction, I guess you'd say. Like Louise, the handy woman, invited her over for Thanksgiving, and
Okay.
they have a little moment together, and then she's walking home and she's singing, like, because they have this awkward moment where they stop talking, and because they're
Yes, because in this time period, we have to have a will they, won't they throughout the movie, throughout the show, to keep us on the edge of our seats until they get their happy ending, of course.
Yes, will they, won't they, but they obviously will.
But we all know they will. It's just a matter of exactly what point in the show.
Funny when you're left with nothing more to say. Suddenly you find you should be on your way.
Yeah, but it's a pleasant little song. Like, it's nice. See, this is a deep cut that makes me appreciate it a little bit more,
Yeah,
because
That's true.
I haven't, outside of this, I probably wouldn't have known it existed. And she does a great job singing it, and you just kind of get sucked into the music of it all. And it's just a happy little, nothing beats a Berlin ballad.
Yeah.
Gone are the pretty speeches that you planned for your lucky day. Funny when you're left with nothing more to say.
And we definitely get a vocally distinct style of Linda versus Lila. Despite
Yes.
the names being very similar.
Yes.
Because Laura Lee Gayer is this beautiful mezzo, and Lila is kind of a whiny, like
Lena
that type
Lamont.
of stereotypical. Yeah, exactly. And she's just like, God bless Megan Sikora for how she does it, because it's very effective.
Yeah.
But the voices alone are telling us that Linda's the one we root for.
And then you can just like Louise with that, like that brassy broad energy. That is, and so
And like, I can't tell if she's 17 or 47.
yes.
So that voice, who knows?
Yeah, which is, and it's again, she just keeps coming in, like she's about to, the next song is this all her.
All her. And so she is all about shaking the blues away, because this is a Christmas Eve song, naturally.
Yes, and again, if we move into like where it is in the show and what is going on, and she thought it would be fun to invite all of his showbiz, hoofer friends from the city up to help shake the blues away, and so they used the song to decorate the house for Christmas.
Telling the blues to go, they may refuse to go, but as a rule they'll go if you shake them away. I do like the voodoos do, listening to a voodoo melody. They shake their bodies so to and fro, with every shake a lucky break.
Yes, and we're getting jump ropes. I was looking at videos that are available on YouTube earlier, and it's like, it's almost there for me. Like, it doesn't feel quite natural enough, but I love the idea of using garland as jump ropes and things like that.
It's really great, and again, this podcast is we're here to focus on the album itself, but this song in particular, where like the choreography, it's really fantastic, and there's a very good reason why this got a Best Choreography Tony nomination. Like, it was well earned with a lot of the stuff here, and it's not what we're here to talk about, but it's worth mentioning that the choreography, and again, you can see it on Great Performance. I'm sure it's on one of those subscription services where I
think it's on Broadway HD currently, but we get the full dance break, so you can hear the tap.
Yeah.
So I would argue it's not outside of the realm of what we can talk about on the podcast.
Yes.
You can hear the beat from the choreography, and I do generally like a tap break to get us into that world.
Yeah, I love hearing them on a cast album, even if I can't see it. There's something about hearing tap shoes going that just puts a smile on my face and makes me pretend I can tap dance too when I'm alone.
Oh yeah. I've heard people in the past argue that it's silly to hear the tapping on the album And I disagree because the music is written and arranged to have the tap acting as percussion. And if you don't have them on the album, it's going to sound kind of flat and weird.
Yeah, I am very much in the camp that anytime I can hear some tap dancing, even though like I prefer to see it, but I will still happily hear it. And I can't I'm sure there's an example out there of an album that has a tap break in it, but without the taps where you're just hearing what is being tapped over.
Yeah,
So I
but so many iconic tap breaks that we all know, the Anything Goes, Patti LuPone tap break,
yes.
the Forget About the Boy from Throw the Modern Millie. Some of them are just so iconic, and to think that some people don't like those is very strange to me.
Yeah, like they elevate it in such a way that please include them always and forever.
Yeah. Yeah, don't listen to the people who just don't like Joy.
Yep. And they just gotta be shaking the blues away.
Yeah. And then I guess after the song is when they have that realization, huh? All these showbiz people have holidays off. Why don't we have an inn that's only open a few days a year so we don't have to do a whole lot?
Yep, and
And
we can
they,
perform, so they're even working on their days off, and
yeah, that's what everybody wants to do.
but it's
But like I said before, I love the idea of working 20 days out of the year and doing whatever you want the rest of the time. It sounds glorious.
I wonder, if they expanded and it was successful, they would go into like the more obscure holidays. So every day is technically a holiday. Like, oh, it's Talk Like a Pirate Day, so we have a whole like
Yeah.
pirate show and things like that.
Oh, that sounds exhausting to put on a different show every day based on obscure like National Hot Dog Day
Yeah,
and stuff like that. I'm not sure how you would do a hot dog themed song and dance, but
but
I'm sure
honestly,
they can find a way.
I would be far more interested in showing up on National Hot Dog Day than, Thanksgiving to a place like that just to see what the
Yeah,
heck they were trying to put together.
that would be fun. And I guess then as an idea, I don't know if he's already written this song or if he does it on the spot, but as a concept of how he could write music for each holiday. The next track is White Christmas with Ted singing fairly sparsely, which is kind of a nice version because normally we're getting this huge, lush White Christmas.
Yeah,
And so they're at least, even if it's a song that we hear everywhere, it's a different version than is the typical.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know.
yeah, and it's a credit to the writers because they know that it is impossible. Like this is such an impossible song to have to try to, and it has to be in the show. And
Hmm.
they do it nicely where it's, oh, I wrote this little song, so let me show it to you. The one thing I wish they did, and it would have set it apart, so because it's established, it's like I wrote this a little while ago. I didn't think anything of it, and it's actually a pretty good joke where he goes over to the piano and he starts playing the melody of it, and he stops, and so everyone knows it's White Christmas, and then he goes, I don't think it's any good, and which is a very good joke, like
Yeah.
and I think it's a good way to kind of take the pressure off of the song.
Yeah, that's a good point
But what I
because it carries so much baggage to have such a well-known song.
it is the highest selling song of all time. Like
Yeah.
that original Bing Crosby version, I think, has sold over 50 million copies or something insane like that.
Where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow.
But the one thing I wish they did is there is an opening verse to White Christmas. And
Yeah. Why not include that? I love that opening verse.
I love it too. And especially since he was like talking about, oh, I wrote this song, like there would have been such a great way to set that up. And people would have been like, wait, I thought he was playing White
Yeah.
Christmas. And then it would have jumped in. And it's just, it's this and, Over the Rainbow. They're two of the most iconic songs ever with opening verses that you almost never hear.
Right. Yeah. And I love that around the time, like late 30s into the 40s, it's such a common thing for these songs to have this little intro.
Yeah.
And over time, most of those have lost their little intro bit. And so I really appreciate any version that's done in a modern sense that includes that because it's like, oh, I didn't know it's like bonus material for your favorite songs.
Yeah. And, I hear this song nonstop from, Columbus Day
September
to, last week. And it's this thing where I always love hearing it, like, but I almost exclusively want the Bing Crosby version. So like but after hearing all of them, I don't think I couldn't tell you right now somebody who does the opening verse.
The Carpenters do.
Oh, I don't listen to that album as much as I should.
Yeah. Oh, Christmas Portrait. That's one of my favorites. Not important right now, but it's, and they include a lot of those kind of intro verses for the different songs. But yeah, you have to have it. I think they do a fine enough job of including it in a way that's not completely what's expected.
Yeah, though I don't think they don't do it on the album, but where he's like feeding her the words because she's like trying to like sing it along because he just taught it to her. And it's a trope in musicals and movies that I really do not care for.
Sometimes it would have made it more interesting as an album, but then it's less of the just play through the classics, and that's not what they were going for here. So I get it.
May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
So they decide, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to open in a week. Sure, why not?
Let's get ready for New Year's.
Yeah, because you can definitely have everything ready for all of the rooms and to have guests lined up because, word of mouth travels really fast in 1942.
To be fair, it is not successful at the start.
That's true. I guess they weren't planning on it having to be at occupancy.
Yeah, it seems very much more for them than for anybody else. And we're
that's true.
part of the Holiday Inn.
Yeah. But he writes a song called Holiday Inn, and that's the next track that combined with Happy Holiday.
Yep.
And Holiday Inn is a really cute and catchy little song that it does in some ways feel like an intro into Happy Holiday, even though it is half the track.
Yeah.
It's just the part, everybody knows Happy Holiday so much more because that gets covered by, everybody on earth for Christmas albums, and very few people are covering Holiday Inn, but they really go well together.
They do. And I'm trying to think, like hearing Happy Holiday outside, like it's a short little song when it's, just done on its own. So because it's
a lot of people will combine it with something else.
Yeah.
Like I grew up with Andy Williams combining it with The Holiday Season.
Oh yes.
Which I forget who that's by, but it is a very short song, so you kind of have to combine it with something else.
Yeah.
And it's done well here.
But the Holiday Inn song is very catchy. Like it's a perfect little jingle.
If you're burdened down with trouble, if your nerves are wearing thin, pack your load down the road and come to Holiday Inn. If the traffic noise affects you like a squeaky violin, kick your cares down the stairs and come to Holiday Inn.
Yeah, it's jingle is the right word for it because it's very much that. In fact, it's going to get stuck in your head just that little bit. And that's the part that's going to sell you on it and make you want to come back.
Yep. And then, just the nice topper of the Happy Holidays. So,
yeah. I've never fully understood why it's Happy Holiday and not Happy Holidays. Like, who says Happy Holiday? That just sounds so awkward.
Yeah. They're being very specific about the holiday as opposed to the season writ large, it seems. Whereas
Happy Holiday, whatever holiday it is today. We're gonna enjoy that one only.
Well, then that's perfect for Holiday Inn because we're here and it's a happy holiday because it's the holiday at the Holiday Inn.
Happy holidays, happy holidays. While the merry bells keep ringing, may your every wish come true.
What's even more weird though is as it's been covered over the years, it still is referred to as Happy Holiday versus so many other things where things have kind of morphed into what people think it quote unquote should be or what sounds natural to them. This has somehow retained itself as being just Happy Holiday.
I'm gonna have to go down the rabbit hole and listen to see if it's listed as Happy Holiday, but they sing Happy Holidays. If that's what now I'm curious. That's gonna be something I do in the middle of January is go back to some Christmas carols.
Because we haven't had enough.
Yeah.
Pack your load down the road and come to Holiday Inn. Happy holiday to you.
So then after this happy big bouncy number, we end Act 1 on Let's Start the New Year Right, which is an interesting end of Act 1 because it's very much more of a ballad and a lot lower energy than you typically think of as an end of Act 1 for this era.
Yeah.
Let's start the new year right. 12 o'clock tonight. When they dim the light, let's begin kissing the old year out, kissing the new year in.
And, you know, in the show, it ends with Ted shows up out of nowhere, drunk, and Jim punching him in the face. So, like, there is a little, like, razzmatazz to bring down the curtain, but the song itself, and again, this was nice where it's a little different in the actual show, so they were smart to kind of just let it be
Yeah.
the ballad.
And the very, like the last 30 seconds or so is the ensemble, and it does have a bigger, grander feel to it for the very end of the song.
Yeah. It gives me Drowsy Chaperone vibes.
Yeah. And it's kind of, in a lot of ways, it feels like writing a song about New Year, other than in this context of Holiday Inn, it's like, why do we need a song about New Year's? Kind of like what are you doing New Year's Eve? Like, it's a pretty little song, but it's kind of strange sometimes to think about, why do we have this song?
Yeah. I think, you know, Let's Start the New Year Right should be a little bit more, you know, in rotation with What Are You Doing New Year's Day or New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
How can our love go wrong if we start the new year right?
Because this at least, and there's still the kissing out the old year, kissing the new
Yeah.
year in. But, you know, that idea of New Year's resolutions and let's start the new year right by kind of refreshing our intent and purpose and starting the year with a fresh mindset.
Yeah.
You would think that'd be a bigger song to get included and things more.
It does have a nice, like, torch song kind of feel to it, too, that
Yeah.
I really appreciate.
Yeah, it's a fine song. Not one I'm probably going to listen to that much. Not that I'm necessarily going to pull a lot of these out of
Yeah.
rotation very often, but it's very pretty and does definitely what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And then we have intermission, wonderful, come back to an entr'acte, which I love. I'm guessing you're not as much a fan of entr'actes either.
Yeah, but at this point, you know, I'm like, all right, I'm here. I'm locked in. I'll listen to it. I am confused, and I'm wondering if you on one of my I was listening to, I think, off of my CD that I have of this, where this was listed as a bonus track, where it
Oh.
was tacked onto the end, and I don't know if that was user error or not, but I was very confused because I was like, why? I don't think we need.
Why would you put it there?
And why would you call it a bonus track when you could just sneak it in there? And
Yeah.
so I don't know
Oh, that's interesting.
if that was a me thing or if there were other, like, it was.
I don't think I changed it because sometimes I will, when they include bonus tracks like that, I'll, for my own library, change the order and put it where it would go in the show. But I don't think I did that for this. Now I'm curious. No, that's what it is. On castalbums.org, it is listed as the last track as a bonus.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. I mean,
No.
in this instance, I'm not.
So I did just move it back up in where it should be. That's so bizarre.
Yeah, I'm glad they recorded it again because, like, this orchestra sounds fantastic, and again, not an entr'acte or an overture person, but they sound good. But I don't
Yeah.
know why they would tack it
And
onto the.
typically, that kind of thing as a bonus track means there wasn't room for it on the LP when they recorded it, but now that it's being issued on CD, we have room, so we're including it.
Yeah, but
But this was produced in 2017.
yeah,
They definitely were not producing for an LP, and why would you choose to do that on the initial offering of the album? No one knows, I guess.
unless it's for people like me who don't really want to listen to it, so I can finish the show and then just stop listening, and then if I were so inclined, I could then listen to the non-track, which.
Maybe. Although I feel like you're in the minority of not liking
I know.
contracts and
I know.
overtures. So that'd be an interesting way for them to make that decision. If anybody out there knows why it's a bonus track and not just in the middle of the album like it should be, let us know. But I'm going to leave it here.
I mean, it's where it should be.
And then after that, now we get Ted waking up from his drunken night and not remembering who he danced with, but he loved whoever it was. And so now the song You're Easy to Dance With is him apparently trying out every girl in the inn to dance and see if she is his Cinderella, that he'll find her by dancing with her again.
Yes, Lila has ran off with some Texas millionaire, and so he's needs a new dance partner. And he started cutting a rug with Linda and thought it was amazing, which is, what causes Jim to punch him. But
Yes.
this song is so catchy. This is the
It
one,
is.
like we were just talking about how, let the new year start right. It's not going to be one you cut. Like this one, I would just immediately put on anytime and just immediately have a big old smile on my face, because it's just the music is just so infectious, and it's hard not to tap your toe to it.
I could dance nightly just holding you tightly, my sweet.
Eyes up, fella.
I could keep right on because you're so light on your feet.
I get that a lot. You're easy to dance with.
Nope.
Yeah, and again, we're getting Corbin Bleu to feature and sound ridiculously good. I'm always glad to get more of him now. It's just, this is one that, again, a lot of people are going to know just from hearing it out in the ether,
Yes.
not it being anchored to Irving Berlin or to a specific property.
And
But it's such a good song.
yeah, but it's either Corbin Bleu or it's Fred Astaire. And so, of course it's going to have that great like dancey quality to it, just because that was just how Fred Astaire did everything. But
Yeah.
but Corbin Bleu he really sounds excellent on this. And it's just, I'm hoping that summer stock musical makes its way somewhere again with him still attached to it, because he's doing these song and dance roles that it's him playing that Jim Kelly. Oh my goodness, I said Jim Kelly. Gene Kelly. Please cut that. Don't. They will take my theater nerd card away. With Corbin Bleu playing the Gene Kelly role. And so I would really want to see that, because this is between this and he did the Bill Calhoun role in Kiss Me Kate. Like he's just got that
Oh, yeah.
classic song and dance man vibe.
Yeah, I saw him at Broadway Backwards a few years ago doing Mine Hair,
Oh,
which was fun.
I bet that was great.
Yeah, but it's mostly focused on the dancing, so I didn't hear this amazing voice as much as we get on this album.
Yeah, he does a really good job with this pre-golden age style of music, and it's just it suits his voice so well. Like they did such a great job with it.
Yeah.
Loving you the way I do makes you easy to dance with. That is why I'm always right on the beat. All those charms in one man's arms makes you easy to dance with. I can hardly keep my mind on my feet.
This is the one where at the beginning we get the half line of somebody saying, "Start with me, you never know." Actually, I think it's Louise.
It is 100% Louise.
Yeah. And it's kind of strange that they chose to include that when they didn't include anything before, so we don't know what she's talking about.
This would have been a good spot to have a line or two to lead in, because what happens is he wakes up in Louise's bed because he passed out drunk, and she's kind of messing with him a little bit, and she knows all of the stuff that he put Jim through, and so she's like, "Hey, it was me. I'm the one you danced with." And as he goes, "No, I don't think it was you." And then that's what you get the lovely little vamp there into the song.
Yeah.
And yeah, they should have included that just to kind of get a little bit clearer of a picture of things.
Yeah, that's one that you wouldn't think would be difficult to add in, but oh well, they didn't.
Yeah. But it's fun. You get all the chorus girls coming in too, and they sound great.
Yeah, and we get kind of different styles throughout as he's dancing with different women. And like you can see in the video that's on YouTube, it's not the whole song, but it's part of it. And, he's doing different kinds of dance with each one.
Yeah.
And so you have an excuse to arrange it for these 8 bars as a tango, and for these 8 bars as more of a waltz, and all these different styles that are a lot of fun to hear, even if you can't see it.
And all of these girls know Ted because they were dancing with him, and they now know that he is a little bit more popular and he's on the up and up, and he's about to like take off with his career. So they're all jumping at the chance to be his next partner, because they all know that it's only a matter of time before, he becomes a star and takes them with him.
Yeah. So maybe, he doesn't need to know that I wasn't the one last night. He'll just love me anyway and take me. And none of them work out for him. And he doesn't fall for it. And they're all sad, I'm sure.
No, the Cinderella analogy is perfect for what it is.
Yeah.
It's so easy to dance.
Easy to dance with you.
And throughout all of this, at some point, I forget why, Linda is upset with Jim. So the next track of Let's Take an Old-Fashioned Walk is them kind of trying to talk things through and him trying to get back in her good graces. I guess for how things went down the night before.
Yeah, because like again,
Oh, for how ungentlemanly he was.
yes, and it's you don't get as much of it on the album where like he interrupts her song and all of it. So, and this is them going, well, let's go on a date. And what do you want to do? And they decide to go on an old-fashioned walk.
Yes.
Let's take an old-fashioned walk. I'm just bursting with talk. What a tale could be told if we went for an old-fashioned walk.
The phrase "I'm just bursting with talk" just bothers me. Like that doesn't sound like anything anyone would ever say.
I disagree. I love it. I think it's just it's because it fits so well with that waltz feel. And though I understand I'm just bursting with chat would make more sense, but it's just
But that wouldn't rhyme.
nope. And it's all for the rhyme. And it's just there's just something about like the giddiness of like for me where I need to get the words out and I'm just bursting with talk because I just need to keep the flow of things going. And even though it doesn't make sense, I'd say that. And I'm very smitten with you and I want to keep this going and kind of doing it like that.
And it must work because I guess after this they're back on good terms.
Yes. They have a nice little it's a cute moment between the two of them. And it's nice hearing the two of them together in a
Yeah.
non-diegetic way. And
Yeah.
Let's take an old-fashioned walk. I'm just bursting with talk.
What a tale could be told if
We went for an old-fashioned walk.
And then we kind of on the album cut forward to I believe Valentine's Day.
yes.
Or Be Careful, It's My Heart, which is beautiful. Like this melody is just gorgeous. The line that bothers me is
Be careful, it's my heart. It's not my watch you're holding, it's my heart.
I have thought about this. It's I because I also this is not my favorite, but it's that thing you're holding that has that tick to it. It's not my watch. It's my heart.
yeah.
Which
I think the thing that makes it more awkward for me is it's be careful, it's my heart. It's not my watch you're holding, it's my heart. It's just that using that weird example in between the same words repeated just feels like to me.
yeah.
I do like that you're like you said, they're both kind of making that ticking or beating sound.
And he talks about the other things that he's given her throughout and like nope, it's my heart. It's not this. It's not that. Like though these are things, it's the metaphor. I guess is the
Yeah.
and but I agree. It hits the ear in a way that I'm not crazy about.
And also holding someone's heart, I would never think to make that literal. So then to say, oh no, it's not a watch, it's my heart. It's like, wait, what is she actually holding?
Yeah.
Well, I don't love that blend of metaphor and real life
Yeah.
either, but oh well.
It's yours to take, to keep or break, but please before you start, be careful, it's my heart.
What's interesting is this is the song that all the executives thought was going to be the big hit. And they were prepping for this one to be like the big standout smash. And Irving Berlin was like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Christmas song. And everyone's like, no. Love sells, Christmas doesn't. And so,
Well, it did after that.
yeah, geez.
So after this, there's a song in the show that's not on the album, which is Cheek to Cheek, another very famous Irving Berlin song. And I'm guessing they didn't include it because from the plot description on Wikipedia, it's very chaotic with both Ted and Jim kind of interrupting each other dancing with Linda, and the tempo's changing and the style's changing. So you're not going to have a clean, nice song to listen to, and that does not fit the mission of this album.
And honestly, it was a very smart decision not to include it because, like you said, what happens is like Jim keeps cutting in as the conductor and changing it from, Cheek to Cheek, which is a song that everybody knows. And all of a sudden it's got like this mambo kind of feel, then it has all, and then, or like, and
yeah, like every time he goes in for a kiss, he changes it so that he doesn't get the kiss.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you were listening to it on the album, you would have no idea that was what they were doing. And actually, I was reading, because this happens in the movie. This is actually one of the few things that also happens in the movie, but I can't remember what song they do it in. It may be the 4th of July song, but don't quote me. But they decided to change it to Cheek because like everybody knows Cheek to Cheek, so they'll know that he's messing around with the song as opposed to
that's
this
smart.
other song that I can't remember where they're like, is that how it's supposed to sound? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You can actually use to your advantage the fact that people know the song going in, which is more clever than a lot of what they do with the songs of using them in their original intent, just in a new place. So I do like that a lot. But alas, we don't get it on the album. It is the right choice, even though I would like to have it, especially because there's room on this album. It's only 50 minutes.
Yeah,
but
it's a short listen.
Yeah. But instead, we go right into Easter Parade.
Never saw you look quite so pretty before. Never saw you dressed quite so lovely, what's more. I could hardly wait to keep our date this lovely Easter morning.
This is such a weird song if you actually listen to the lyrics, but it's so catchy, and it is just, this is one that will absolutely get stuck in your brain and never leave.
Yeah. I mean, this is the song that inspired the entire Holiday Inn franchise because it was in As Thousands Cheer and people loved it so much that he's like, well, maybe a whole holiday show. And then
And then it got its own movie too.
Yeah, which it's only a matter of time before we see that on a stage if somebody hasn't tried it already.
I forget, was the movie Easter Parade before or after Holiday Inn?
After.
Okay. Because it was not in Holiday Inn in the movie, right?
No, it was also in the movie.
It was in the movie? Okay.
Yeah, I highlighted all of the songs that are originally from the movie in that one.
I started going through to keep track of where everything came from, and I was like, this is going to take too long. I'm not going to do that. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
So it's just the information.
But yeah, it's just such a catchy song. And there are certainly, they're using words that are not in the 2026 parlays, right now. But I don't mind so much because it's all about the mood and it's just so pleasant.
Yeah, because the entire crux of the song is you're beautiful.
Yes.
And you're going to be the belle of the ball, so to speak. And when that is the simplicity of the message, you can have a lot more fun with the language along the way because people are still going to get the message that you need them to get from the song. And it doesn't matter if they don't, if it's an obscure word that people don't know, either then or now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They'll still enjoy the ride.
Because what is the word? I'm going to mess it up and I don't want to. This is great for me to. Oh, the rotogravure. You'll find that you're in the rotogravure, which is a word that I have no idea what it means. And this is one of those things when I was listening to the album to get ready, I was like, I need to look up what the heck this word is, which is, it's a rotary printing system. So that is
naturally.
So when you pretty much get your picture taken for the magazines. So, okay, that's lovely.
It's a journey to find out what it means, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
On the avenue, on the avenue, Fifth Avenue, Fifth Avenue, the photographers will snap us, and you'll find that you're in the rotogravure.
But there's not a whole lot else to the song message-wise. It's just a fun Easter song.
Yep.
Because there aren't a ton of those for secular Easter, at least.
Say, eat your heart out, Peter Cottontail.
Yes, who needs him?
Yes.
Then we go into the very short Song of Freedom, which this just feels like Irving Berlin's bread and butter, patriotism on a stick.
Yes, just that pure rah-rah. And I'm sure this song was already written for This Is the Army, and he couldn't find a spot for it, so he put it into this instead.
Oh, This Is the Army. We won't get into
Yeah.
that, but, that's a wow kind of a experience. There's really not a whole lot here, partially just because it's very short, but also it's really just different variations of "Yay, freedom, freedom, yay."
Yes. And it starts off with it's them learning the song or whatever. Like we're back to them at the piano, and then it's
Yeah.
just kind of seems to be the setup for a lot of these songs is we're sitting around the piano, and then let's see what happens when it gets expanded into this,
Right.
the holiday inn.
We're singing a song of freedom, singing a song for all that we can cry out to be free.
Instead of expanding it fully, we instead get "Let's Say It with Firecrackers," which, listen to this, I was like, this is a weird song. But then reading the plot summary, it makes more sense. This song is improvised because instead of Song of Freedom, Louise has locked Linda in the barn. And Jim is like, what am I supposed to do? And so he just starts singing and tap dancing.
Let's say it with firecrackers and banners held high. Let's have a real old-fashioned noisy 4th of July. Don't need any long speeches or shouts of hooray. No words can say as much as firecrackers can say.
And I'll forgive a lot more in a song when it's something like that in the context of the story,
Yeah,
because you're just spitballing like, oh, just come on, hope she shows up.
exactly. And I think it's a fun way of like, he sees a box of fireworks. He's like, well, let's see what I can do. And I mean, it's a fun way of thinking of the 4th of July of like let's say Happy 4th of July with firecrackers is
Yeah.
you know
And from a songwriting standpoint, it's brilliant to use the tap dance to mimic firecracker noises and have the actual sound effects of firecrackers mix in seamlessly.
yeah, and it looks
It's such a cool effect.
it really is. And this is something from the movie too, and it actually it's a plot song, which is such a rare thing, especially in this movie where like there's a reason he's going to be singing about firecrackers, and because he's about to do a tap dance with firecrackers, and he needs to think on his feet, and that's how he does it. And between Corbin Bleu doing it and Fred Astaire, like this is one of my favorite numbers in the show just to watch because it's just
Yeah.
so entertaining, and just having the firecrackers accent with the taps is so good.
Yeah, and there's another video that you can see on YouTube for part of the song. And the way they do it on stage is really cool looking because they essentially have lights kind of built into certain places around the stage. So he'll throw a firecracker at that spot and have it make the noise and light up on the beat, of course.
Yeah,
And it's very cool to look at.
I really appreciated reading the libretto for this. There's a big note that says, "Do not use real firecrackers." Like,
So sad that they had to say that.
well, yeah, I appreciate the writers just being like,
Don't do it.
we
Don't
we
do it.
we know everybody's gonna like be doing this show around Christmas time, and they're gonna be like, we can't think of a creative way to do this. So what if we just really got real firecrackers? So let's get ahead of it.
Yeah, that is smart. But it's fun. It's kind of goofy, which is the point. And again, we get to highlight the tap more, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Don't need any long speeches or shouts of hooray. No words can say as much as firecrackers. Firecrackers, firecrackers can say.
And then so we have a couple reprises that are not on the album because that's not fitting with our fantasy of what this album is.
Yeah.
So first, there's Nothing More to Say, so I believe Ted has a picture deal now, right? And they end up going with the Holiday Inn concept. And he finds out that Linda was the one he was dancing with and invites her along, and she goes, but Jim decides to stay. Is that right?
More or less. Like, this is where like the plot gets a little convoluted, where they invite movie executives to see the 4th of July show, and Louise hears about it and doesn't want Linda to go, so she
Oh, right. That's why she put her in the barn.
so Louise locks Linda in the barn, and at the same time Louise calls Lila back And so both both Linda and Lila are there, and they're
Too
both
many L names.
yeah, these Louise, Linda, and like Lila. I wish we shook things up a little bit there because it's confusing. Not confusing me, but it's I'm trying to keep it on track, and it's
Very easy to misspeak.
yes, exactly. And so the Hollywood producers see the Song of Freedom and they're like, wow, this was fantastic. We want to make Holiday in the movie. This is fantastic. You're going to be a star, kid. And, Jim is like, go for it. I don't care. I don't want it. And Linda's like, it's one movie. Like, we should do this. And he's pretty much tells her that, yeah, you can do it. And but he doesn't say we can do it. And so, he lets her go. And so she sings the Nothing More to Say again.
And then he, I guess, either is second guessing himself or just goes out for a visit and goes to visit the set.
So yes, Louise tries to have things get made right and tells him to go out and get his girl. And that's with the White Christmas reprise comes in because they're filming that section. And
and there's fake snow coming down and it's all beautiful.
This for me is where the book really kind of jumps the shark, where like Linda, like I can forgive a lot with this show in terms of plot and things like that, because I understand, like, that's not why people are watching it. But here is where I'm like, okay, enough's enough, where they're filming the movie and Linda's upset because it's not how it really happened. Like, this isn't how it happened. And Ted is playing Jim in the movie now. And it's just, she's like, it's all too much. And she keeps having to like end the scene, and they're like on take 18, and then Jim comes sneaking in and he starts singing it from the side, and then they decide they just want to be together and live their days at the Holiday Inn, and so they're going to quit. She's going to quit the movie because they just started filming, so it won't be too hard to find a replacement. And
and they pull in Lila,
who
gets what she wanted after all.
Which I'm just like, all right, we could have tied this bow a little bit more neat than this.
Sometimes a messy bow is what you're going for, I guess. Yeah. So instead, the next track on the album is the finale ultimo. So we get reprises of Steppin' Out With My Baby, I'll Capture Your Heart, and Cheek to Cheek. Although on the album, this is the first time we hear Cheek to Cheek. And it gets the final spot, which traditionally is the earworm that you want people to leave the theater with. And so it's interesting that it's the first time we're hearing it in that coveted place.
I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak.
But I guess you still couldn't really have included it earlier with all the chaos of what was going on.
Yeah, and so, it's still going to, get stuck in your head even with that one little bit together.
Yeah, and to your point, they knew full well going into it that everybody already knows this song. So you don't need to hammer it home too much. They'll remember it very easily when it's the last thing they hear.
Yeah, exactly. And so, starting the show with Steppin' Out With My Baby and ending the show with Cheek to Cheek is very smart on their end to really. Yeah. And, they get married, and I do like the reprise of the first song there, the I'll Capture Her Heart. Like, it works well now that everyone's friends and everyone's getting along, and
we get more kind of elbowy, joking lyrics, not biting competitors. Like
I won my hot toddy over my scarred body. I knew that I'd win singing. Just wait until she gets a load of your dancing.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
Because it's ever so slight a turn on the lyrics from before.
Yes.
But it's enough to make you go, oh, I see what you did there.
And we should say this is their wedding, which I mean, they do.
Yes.
Louise
and what
cuts
bigger
in and
holiday
lets us
is
know.
there than a wedding?
Yes.
And everybody's happy, and they live happily ever after. The end.
The end.
So that's the show. It ran for 117 performances at Studio 54. Its only Tony nomination was choreography, which it did not win. So if you had to pick your standout performer on this album, who would you go with?
Probably Bryce Pinkham. Like, if I was watching the show, I would have said Corbin Bleu, but listening to the album, and because he's a bit of a bigger presence, Bryce Pinkham for me.
Yeah. For me, it's Corbin Bleu, just because it was so unexpected to hear how gorgeous he sounds.
Yeah.
And that sticks out with me because I know Bryce Pinkham sounds amazing. I have loved everything I've ever heard from him.
Mm-hmm.
But to have this, I'm not somebody who's ever been a fan of High School Musical.
Yeah.
So to have somebody like that who's very easy to kind of discount as not being a real talent, like, oh no, he is very much a real talent, and I love what he's doing with his voice, and it just that's what sticks in my head more.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. This must have been his Broadway debut, and I'm not too sure in terms of like seeing him as a song and dance man. Like this must have been the first thing he did to really show that he is much more than Zac Efron's best friend in High School Musical.
Yes. And then my other question for you is, if you had to pick one track that would be your, I'll go with a desert island track, so to speak, that you had to listen to. It's the only one that you can get from this album. What are you going to go with?
You're easy to dance with, without a doubt.
I love it. I'm going to go with the overture because you get samples of everything and it's so well performed, well arranged. But yeah, obviously not going to be your pick.
Yeah. I mean, if I was stuck on a desert island and had to, there are worse things than having to listen to Irving Berlin's music as an overture over and over again.
Yeah. So, this is, I'm sure, a fantastic show to see, especially live. It just, as an album, with how they chose to do it, it's the smart thing for them, but it makes it so that it's not my kind of album with what they prioritize versus what I, as a listener, prioritize. So it's fun as I've, over the last couple seasons of the podcast, gotten better at figuring out what I like and don't like about something.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good example of everything that they're doing is done perfectly. It's just not aimed at my tastes.
Sure. And I think, like, to your point, like, this is an album you throw on when you're making dinner and you don't have to like focus on a story because there really isn't much of one. But if you're just like, I want to hear some good bops and not really have to think too much about it, like this is what I would throw on from this season as opposed to
Natasha Pierre.
Yeah, like Dear Evan Hansen or something like that.
Yeah, very fair. Well, let's get into the scoring, shall we?
I have a feeling we're going to have some pretty big differences here.
That's totally all right. We'll start with the composition categories. So out of 15 for music, what did you give it?
It's a 15 for me, without a doubt in my mind.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with a 13 because it is all very perfectly executed. It is by the book. It's not doing anything crazy and new for the most part, but it is all very, very solid.
Yeah.
For lyrics out of 15.
This one I gave it a 13. Because
Okay.
I love them. There's, for me, it's the beauty and the simplicity is something that I really appreciate. And it's a skill to be simple. And like I said, we talked about there's a couple of lyrics that hit the ear a little weird and they're not necessarily my favorite, but they're
Yeah.
still, on the whole, like these are just great songs together. And when I feel like you can't have one without the other, even though like the lyrics sometimes don't hold up to the music.
Yeah. I'm going to go with 12. A lot of the same things that you said, but just, there are very few lows, but the lack of higher highs in this case is making me come down slightly lower than you did. But we're not that far
Yeah.
off so far. For performance now, for what I'm calling virtuosity this season, the quality of the actors, the musicians, everybody, from what we can hear on the album, what is your score?
I gave this a 13. Like the style of the singing matches the show. It has that 1947 sound where it takes place in, and everyone seems to be locked into the style. So I still gave it a 13.
Yeah, I went with 13 as well. I think Bryce Pinkham and Corbin Bleu are sounding perfect in what they're supposed to be doing. And Laura Lee Gayer is also very, very strong, but we do get bits of character singing here and there from other characters, which is appropriate.
Yeah.
But we'll drive this score down just a touch.
Yeah, like it doesn't sound like anybody's in the wrong musical listening to this.
Which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
For the personality of the performances out of 15.
This I did give a 10 because even though everyone is locked in, there are times where it does feel a little forced, where like it's trying too hard, I think, in certain parts to be in 1947 when the musical takes place.
Yeah, I went with 9. And what they do very well. It's just this album especially is produced in a way to take away most of the times that they would have opportunities to give more than just what's on the page.
Sure.
Because there's very little dialogue that gets included. There's not a whole lot of personality in the songs. They're not like kooky character songs.
Yeah.
They're all fairly straight-laced, and that's how you're going to sing them. So there's not a whole lot to work with, which is not their fault, but you're not getting the experience of feeling like you're watching a show in your mind just from listening to the album.
Yeah, which again didn't seem to be the goal. So I can't fault them too much for that.
Yep. And then in our theatrical categories, for storytelling out of 15, what's your score?
What we were just talking about. I gave it a 10.
Okay.
I think, we talked about it. A couple of songs aren't on the album. And again, I think not having Cheek to Cheek on the whole actually helps with the storytelling and not having it there. But at the same time, we are missing some things. There isn't much of a story. There is, they're doing the best they can. And, there are those good fence posts that they put up there with, and here we are. So you can kind of gauge what's going on without, needing too much.
Yeah, this is where we start to differ a bit more.
Yes.
So I went with 3 because with very limited exceptions, this is not trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
This is a collection of songs that is beautiful music. But if you don't read along with Wikipedia, if you've not seen the movie, if you don't know anything about the story beforehand, you're not going to get it from this album unless you're happening to guess exactly what they are actually doing.
Sure. And I think for me, I'm grading it a little bit on a curve because even if you know the story, like there isn't much story there to begin with. So like I'm kind of like letting that weigh my score a little bit more to where if this was a really densely structured musical and it still sounded like this, I would probably give it a much lower score because you would be like,
Yeah.
what do you mean that's what's going on? Where when I listen, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that is what's going on,
Yeah. Whereas for me, like I said, what I love about cast albums is feeling like I'm following a story from beginning to end.
Sure.
And that's not at all what they're wanting to do here. And that's ultimately why it does fall short overall as an album for me compared to a lot of others, despite so many things being so well done.
Yeah.
For emotiveness out of 10 points, what are you going to go with?
I gave it a 6. Like it's a little bit better than right down the middle for me, where you can hear the emotion, you can kind of tell where they're at, but again, they're not going super deep, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I put 4 because there's just not, the songs aren't meant to do that.
Exactly.
That's not the point of this. And so if you're looking for a show to make you feel things and have a catharsis, you're not going to get that in any way from this.
Yeah, and like it touches a little bit on that with Nothing More to Say. Like does a good job of like getting into some insight there. It's pretty like it's hard because more than half the score is non-diegetic, or excuse me, is I guess if it's half, but they're mostly diegetic songs, so it's kind of hard to talk about it. So when they do get emotional, it's not really.
Yeah. But for me, even when they do have those moments, it's more like this is the trope that we have to follow.
Sure.
That she has to be sad before she can be happy again. And I'm not getting a whole lot from the song beyond that.
Sure.
But that's why I didn't go lower, because we do get some of that at least.
Yeah.
For inventiveness out of 5 points, what are you going to go with?
I gave it a 2. Like
Same.
Like it's not a copy and paste of the movie, so it is technically inventive.
It's not a 1.
It is technically, but it's not doing much more. So like I can't.
And the whole point of it is to be nostalgic and feel familiar. So of course it's not going to be breaking new ground.
Sure. And I'm curious, like what would have happened if this musical was written in the year 2000 instead of 2016, when it was not the what's that, the contact year, like, so it's not like and so
No.
and it's still far enough away from like Crazy for You, but still close enough to where it could kind of ride that wave a little bit, where people would have been a little bit more open to this kind of a thing, where at this point it just came to the party a little too late to feel like it's doing anything inventive.
Yeah, especially following White Christmas on Broadway by 8 years.
Yeah. And even though Holiday Inn is where White Christmas came from, it is
They chose to make White Christmas into the stage show first.
Yep, exactly. And so it should have kind of treaded lightly, I guess is what
Yep. For clarity and usability of the album out of 5 points, what are you going to go with?
I gave it a 5. Like it really, like the orchestrations sound great, the voices sound great, like everything is
clear, everything is mixed well, it sounds gorgeous.
Yeah, it is, as an album, it is a great album.
Mm-hmm. For what they set out to do, they did it very well. And then lastly, for curb appeal of the album cover out of 5 points.
I gave it a 1. I hate this album cover.
Really? Okay.
I hate it so much. I think it does such a bad job of, like, it looks like, a generic Songs of Irving Berlin album, and not like a unless you read it, you wouldn't know it's from a musical.
Yeah. As I'm listening to you talk and think about it, I think I'm also going to go with the one because it is not telling you anything about what the music is or what's inside. And there's nothing interesting about it to make you want to pick up the album.
No,
In fact, it looks like it's going to be a really boring album and it's going to make me more likely to skip over it for something else.
and that's yeah, like there are ways to make this look fun because again, like this is just trying to be a good time, and there are so many ways that you could have come up with a cover. And it's what's interesting is it's not even the key art for the window cards, which I also hate that too. I think that also does a they both do a bad job of trying to say what the show is. Like there's a ton of balloons for the
Yeah, that's so weird.
And it's
I don't understand that at all.
and I don't know, it just maybe it's too obvious to have a bed and breakfast in the background and then a sign on the road that says Irving Berlin's Holiday Inn, like that at
I
least
mean,
I'd immediately go, oh, we got a like it
the name of the show is the name of the place. Having it be on a sign in context of the inn behind would be completely, it makes so much sense.
yeah, there's just I think a lot of different things they could have done if they spent more than 15 seconds brainstorming on what to do. It's like somebody scribbled it on a cocktail napkin and went, done. What's next? What else you got for me? Like, and I'm
And
very
there are a lot of
sorry.
albums this year. They couldn't spend a whole lot of time on all of them.
Yeah, and I'm very sorry to whoever designed it. I don't mean any disrespect to you, but it's just not a good cover. Like
Yeah.
I wish there was more to kind of draw you in. And I at first I thought, well, maybe it's kind of trying to look like a title card to the movie, but even then, like it's not even doing that.
I think that's kind of what they were going
Yeah.
for. It just doesn't even succeed at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Stephanie Layton.
Sorry, Steph.
But she has other stuff this season that's much better.
I'm sure like there's stuff that I love that, and so, but I'm very
Yeah.
sorry, Stephanie.
So that brings my score to 62, yours to 75. So we average out at 68 and a half. It could be better, could be worse.
Yeah.
There's a lot to love about this album. There's a lot to wish was there, but you can't have everything. And I think what they chose to do, they did very well.
Yeah, and I think we're on opposing sides of like what we'd want. I shouldn't say opposing sides because some more often than not, I do want a complete story. But if I just want the music, it does it well. But if I want the story of the Holiday Inn, it does not do that well. So
Yeah. And that's why I keep every season I'm modifying the scoring categories to try to reflect the different priorities people will have in approaching an album and why it will work for some people, why some albums work for everybody because they're nailing all different kinds of what a cast album can be.
sure.
And some are focusing strongly on one and not the other, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a fun experiment as we go along.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how this season shakes out because it's such a wide range of shows that are doing
Yeah.
so many different things. And I'll be curious what happens when you go way back to, a season from the 50s when everything had to be 70 minutes and, songs had to be sped up in order to get them to fit on there. So it'll be interesting to see as you keep going with this,
Yes.
how it evolves.
Yes, I'm very excited to see how the different generations of theater kind of aesthetics and album aesthetics have changed. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Mike, this has been so much fun. I never could have dreamed that I'd have this much enjoyment talking about Holiday Inn.
But
So thank you so much for being here.
thank you for having me. This is such a great time.
For people to stay in touch, follow you, keep in touch with what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably Instagram. I'm not a big social media person, but I'm at real Mike Meaney, Meaney. I post every once in a while. That's about it. If I'm working on a show, you'll probably see, the script sitting on a table, and that's about it.
Yeah. Do you have something coming up?
Yeah, I've been working as the associate director with J2 Spotlight Musical Theater Company, and I'm going to be their associate director for their season again in the spring. And they're doing Milk and Honey, Carnival, and The Mystery of Edwin Drood. So that'll be the AMT Theater in New York. If you want to come see them, it's going to be a good time.
Wonderful. For the podcast, you can follow me on Instagram at Little Things We Hear Together. You can email me questions, comments, whatever you want. littlethings.weheartogether@gmail.com. Wherever you get your podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. It's very much appreciated to help the podcast grow and find more people who would be interested in this kind of nerdy deep dive with us. Until next week, though, enjoy listening to Holiday Inn, I guess, because it is beautiful music. Well, thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much.